Golfers, is early extensioning ruining your golf swing? Despite everything you tried, you just can't stop from standing up through the golf ball? Hi everybody, Darren Falk here at Break 90 Golf, and today we're going to talk about this disastrous downswing move and how you can eradicate it out of your golf swing forever. I'm going to talk about the root cause, why you're not doing it correctly, and I'm going to share with you 3 drills that's going to guarantee that you get rid of this move forever. Stick around, you're not going to want to miss this one. Okay, so what is early extension? And for some of you watching this video, it might be a term that you're actually not very familiar with. So what it is when I set up to the golf ball, so we know we stand to the side of the golf ball, so therefore I am tilted or angled towards the golf ball. I'm obviously not standing straight up, okay? Now, as I swing back to the top, notice how that inclination to the ground stays the same, but the early extension is classified as on my way down that I lose this inclination to the ground because my hips move towards the golf ball while my head moves away from it. And if I do those two things, notice my body has started to stand up, right, or straighten up, okay? So the problem with that is obviously I'm moving away from the ball. I'm gonna hit thin shots. I'm also gonna have a tendency to have my swing direction going out to the right, hitting big pushes or big hooks, okay? So the first thing we have to understand is how the body, okay, needs to move in the golf swing. So as we stated, we set up to the golf ball and we're tilted over, okay? So as I swing back, I should have that same inclination to the ground. And on the follow through, that also still needs to be there. For a golfer that early extends, where look coming into the golf ball and through impact, okay, is looking more this way and then all the way through. So notice how my body has started to straighten up, okay? So how do I get there? Well, there's 3 things at work here to get to that finished position, okay? The first thing is I am extending through the golf ball, okay? I do need to be extending through the shot. I don't need to be staying down, okay? But at the same time that I'm extending, this is where the first thing that people struggle with early extension is the first thing they don't have enough of is side bend, okay, where my left hip moves forward towards the target. And notice what happens when I do that. My right shoulder gets lower to the ground. From there, when I add in my rotation, okay, that is what keeps my inclination to the ground. Okay, again, it's not trying to stay down, right? That's not how we fix the early extension. We have to understand all 3 things that are happening, okay? So again, as we look at the finish here, I'll put the club across my spine, right? Not only am I extended, I do extend, but I also need to have my weight moving forward because what that's doing is lowering my shoulder, creating this side bend. And then as I rotate, that inclination that you see is being created by that right side bend, okay? For those that early extend, we don't have enough rotation and we don't have enough of that right side bend, okay? So those are the 2 elements that we need to make sure we're adding into our golf swing to keep that angle, that inclination to the ground, okay? So the first drill that we're gonna do to get you to feel this is you're just gonna take a golf club and you're gonna put it right up across your hips, okay? And hold it right up there nice and pretty close, right? From here, we're gonna go ahead and get into our regular posture, okay? Now, I'm gonna put it, just hold it right up against here, right? Now, all I'm gonna do is make my backswing. And when I do that, notice how my right hip actually moves back a little bit, okay? So if I were to do this drill, I'm gonna have you do it at home, and you're gonna set up against the wall, okay? And you're gonna have about a fist width distance between there, because I want you to feel this exaggerate a little bit. Now, in the backswing, you're gonna go ahead and rotate to where your right hip is against the wall. Notice when I do that, how my hips are turned right on an angle. My shoulders as well too. There's me keeping my inclination to the ground. For those that suffer from early extension, this is what's happening with them on the downswing is their right hip, okay, and their tailbone is moving where? Further away from that wall, closer to the golf ball, okay? So here's the backswing. What you need to feel, and this is what I like doing with the golf club, is I need to get this grip end of the club up against that wall. Now, how do I do that? I don't do it by simply just turning. That would get the grip against the wall, but what do we notice? Where's my weight now? On my back foot. We don't want that, okay? So again, there's the turning element, but I also got to make sure that I have this sliding or side bend. So here's my backswing. Now watch how I'm going to get this grip to the wall. First, I'm going to slide my hips forward. So now my tailbone would be against the wall. And now I put in the rotation, and that's what's going to get this left hip against that wall. Okay? And notice where the grip end of the club is. It's forward over my left foot, and it's also gotten behind my body. What would someone that early extension would look like? They would look like this coming into the golf ball. Okay? The grip end of the club is moved out. It hasn't moved behind me. But again, we've got to make sure that the hips are moving forward, because that's going to create that side bend coming through the golf ball. Okay, so for the second drill, we are going to go ahead and grab a sand wedge, something, probably a wedge of some sort, pitching wedge, but I've got my sand wedge here, my 54. And we're going to hit some shots here. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this wedge and you're going to place it right underneath your left heel, okay? Just like so. And notice how that club's now sticking up in the air. Again, I like a little bit more of a wedge. That way the club gets a little higher off the ground, okay? Now, what our goal is going to be, so we're going to make just some little swings here to get started. So here's my backswing. If I were to suffer with the early extension, what's going to happen is this right knee is going to kick out. I'm going to get up on my toes, and that club's going to fall to the ground very, very quickly, okay? What we're training ourselves to do with this club is creating some pressure, keeping it underneath my left heel. So now as I start to swing down, my goal is going to be to try to keep that club from falling for as long as I can. And notice what happens by doing that. Notice my right knee is actually moving where? Towards the target, not towards the golf ball. What's that doing with my hips? Getting my hips to slide, and that's getting to create that side bend that I need, okay? Again, done incorrectly, we're going to see that club fall out, and notice where my hips are going, okay? It's going to stall my hip turn, and I'm going to have to just flip at it with my hands, okay? What we're looking for, got the club right underneath the heel, all right? Let's make a little swing here with the goal of trying to keep that underneath my heel for as long as I possibly can, okay? And notice how my finish now, okay? Notice my angle to the ground has stayed the same. My left hip has gotten up against where that wall is. And notice how my right knee has really stayed inside of that stick, okay? Done incorrectly, what are we gonna see? Would be something like this here, okay? So I got the club underneath the wedge. If I did it incorrectly, I'd look something like this here. Okay, look where my finish is. Look where my right knee is moved outside the stick. My tailbone's moved to the golf ball. My head is moved, okay, away from the golf ball, right? So again, very simply, just start this with some small swings, okay? And when you're doing the small swings, I would make sure to start with a little bit more weight forward. Get that underneath the right heel. I'm gonna start with a little bit of weight forward to kind of already predispose me to a little more of that hip slide, which I need, okay? Make a little swing here. Okay. And notice how that really quiets that right hip. And if it doesn't move out this way, it's going to be able to move more laterally and then start to turn. Okay. That's going to keep that inclination to the ground. That's going to keep me from early extending. Golfers, are you looking to improve but have no idea where to begin? I've got you covered. Click below and download my free Breakthrough Golf Playbook. That's going to give you everything you need to get you shooting lower scores right away. Okay, so for the final drill here that we're going to do is we're going to be talking now a little bit more about how the head needs to be, okay? And what we're looking for in the swing is that the head, if I put my head up against the wall, there it is in the backswing, then all the way to the follow through, my head would pretty much stay up against that wall, okay? If I were to early extend, not only would the hips be moving towards the ball, but my head would be moving away from the wall, okay? So you can do this at home, obviously just by simply setting your head up against a wall, but I wanted to kind of show you a drill you could do while actually hitting golf balls. And all I simply did is just got my golf bag here, get one of these little foam noodles, just put that on the end of my golf club. And again, just kind of angle this and finagle however you need to get it. It doesn't have to be perfect, just needs to give you some intention and having some reference of where the head needs to be. Again, get into my setup. And again, here's my head up against the wall. And if you picture another wall right up against my tailbone, okay, in my backswing, my head stays against this wall, my hips, tailbone stays against this one, and then in my follow through, my head would stay against that wall, so at least both arms are straight, okay? We don't want coming into the golf ball where my head is moving away from the wall, because there's my body straightening up, there's my thin shots, there's my pushes, okay? So again, this is something you can just do at home, you can do it in the backyard, but again, pretty easy to set this up if you don't want to do it with an actual wall, which you can certainly do, just don't hit golf balls. All right, there's my setup. Just have a little pressure there, little swing back, little swing through, okay? And just that little shot there, notice how solid it is. And again, notice where my finish is. What do you notice but my body? I've maintained that angle, okay? So again, easy drill you can do. Just gonna set up, putting the head against the wall. If you have a partner, okay, someone you play with or a spouse, you could also have them just hold their hand there, okay? Very good way to do it as well too. Just put a little pressure on the forehead just to give a little bit of a reference. But again, if you want to go about it on your own, you can just set something up like I've got here. Little swing back, little swing through, okay? Notice how solid those are, all right? And notice what that's doing to my follow through. That's keeping my inclination to the ground. If I were to do this incorrectly, okay, there's my early extension. My head moves off the wall, my hips move towards the golf ball, my body straightens up, and there's my thin shots, okay? So again, we can practice with that. Then if we just took that away, I'm just gonna hit some now with those two feels. Again, you can do it by feeling more of your head, or you can do it by feeling with your hips, all right? So I'm gonna feel a little bit of both in this one. So I'm gonna feel my right hip turning back against the wall. In the follow through, my left hip turning against the wall, all while making sure that I maintain my head up against the wall over here. So I'll just go ahead and hit a little shot out there. Okay. Again, look where my finish is. My inclination to the ground stays the same. Yes, you're going to lose a little bit in the follow through. That's totally okay. The main thing is that we're keeping that head and the hips, keeping that angle as we're getting into the golf ball, not losing it before we get into impact. Thank you everybody for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have not already done so, please make sure that you like this video and also make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way we'll continue to get updates and it will help me out as well too. If you would like to work with me in person, we can do so at Holly Ridge Golf Club on Cape Cod. I'll be moving indoors in the wintertime, so you can just email me for information on that. Or if you would prefer, we can work online together using the Skillest app, and you'll see a link to that in the description below. As always, if there's anything you would like to see in future videos, please mention it in the comments below and give these drills a try and let me know which one of these three you found most helpful. As always, I appreciate you joining me and look forward to seeing you again next time.